Hey guys, it's Zig. Prepping the boat for this weekend's sail with the Texas 200 Sailing Club out of Rockport, Texas. We're sailing this weekend. 3 days, 2 nights, and it's going to be a gas. So I'm doing the maintenance and the walk around you do before that you have to do periodically on any boat. It's not a lot on this, but I thought I'd take you around and let you see just what's involved in keeping up on a Windrider 17. And at the end, I'm going to touch into the importance of it and show you what I had fail on me coming back from the Cleveland Reef camping trip, that last sailing run. And I had an equipment failure that put me in the water, and I got hurt, ended up in the emergency room and a doctor's office. And that's why you haven't seen a sailing video, because I'm still recovering from the injuries from the equipment failure that if I'd been more diligent in inspecting little tidbits, might not have happened. So we'll get to that towards the end. Right now we'll get to the main basic stuff, and let's go hit it. My name is Ziggy, and I'm out tearing up the Texas coast on a Windrider 17. Jump aboard, cause I'm gonna take you bastards sailing. So in the Texas 200 last year, when you're out sailing an overnighter, you want to do a walk around. If you're just on a one-nighter, it's not that critical. But if you're on like there, where it's a whole week out there, you want to keep a really good eye on the boat. And the morning that I left before the big storm video, luckily, I caught that one of these bolts that hold the shroud had walked out like a half an inch. And you can't reach up here to get to the nut underneath. I'm not sure how they think I don't know how the designer or the people think you're going to get to it. I'm not in fact sure that it's a loose bolt, but I was thinking I'm going to have to take a dock line, hook it through here up to the split in the shroud and take the stress out of it, and just basically motor or light air sail it back and just call it quits. But and then we had that storm, it would have been all hell. But I put a pair of pliers on it and just slowly walk it, hoping that nut, it's salt water, everything corrodes to everything, hoping that nut was going to be stuck in there. And I got it to walk down enough, I actually tightened her up. Now I still got to walk around. So this is something you got to do on a regular basis, is come around to these little guys. I think I did a walk around before I left Cleveland Reef. And I think I found one of them. Actually, this is the one that came loose on the big sailing. See, it's still just a little wiggly, but it's good. And you got to walk around and make sure these guys are good, because that holds your hold. That'll end your day right there. You can get the mast all flopping around at DL. So make sure you check these on a regular basis, because they will walk loose on you. They will just slowly, and they'll come up. Like that one has walked up quite a bit. It had been walking up for a while, but it was just subtle enough that it didn't catch my eye. And luckily, the day before that storm we hit with 50 mile an hour winds, I caught it that morning, or I'd have been dismasted on that storm. So you gotta watch these things right there. All right, now obviously you want to check your electrical systems, just to make sure you got voltage. I'm holding at 13.4. Solar panel even here in the shade keeps everything going good. I'm gonna hit your nav lights, check your nav lights, and make sure they're all good. I don't do a lot of night sailing here on the Texas coast. When I was sailing the Great Lakes, I loved night sailing. It was beautiful open water. Down here, the petroleum companies, they've gone through with all their wells and such, and they leave pipes sticking out of the water, just under the water. Night sailing's not a safe sport down here when you're within the ICW and the bays, which is what this is more about than the open water versus the big boat I used to have, which is all open water. You want to make sure your lights are working. I tend to use those lights. I get stubborn, don't want to turn around. I'm out sailing, so once I do turn around, the last mile or so up the creek to my dock is in the dark a lot, so that's where the lights come in. And they obviously, these boats don't come from the factory with lights, so you add them yourself, but you got to keep track of that, especially around salt water. You get the corrosion and such, and I've had to do a few repairs before where the lights just quit going and it's just a corroded contact or something. So you want to stay on that and don't find out the hard way when you're out on the water and you've got no lights. Because these fishing boats down here, they don't fool around. They come through at 50 to 60 miles an hour and they'll run your ass down. Now this isn't really a maintenance tip, but since I'm here, I'm gonna throw this in since I'm doing it. And we have these clips that go through the body, go through the cross beams here. When you bring it in and out, and it supports it. What happens is you got to babysit this when you're sailing, because the clip will pop off. And I've had it before where I've actually walked out enough that then it got loose inside, and you got the weight of the mast and everything. It's hard to get it lined back up and clip it in. I got tired of babysitting it. I was worried that, you know, it might have some failure to it if it got loose, and actually, I just got tired of babysitting. So I took a 9/16 head bolt and nylock nut, and all four corners I dropped in that thing, and it works great. I keep the socket and the wrench and a little pocket in the SUV there I tow this with, right in the bag, so it's always in reach when I'm picking it up and putting it down. And I don't have to babysit it when I'm sailing. Just something I do there, and maybe someone else will like what I do. Another thing, you gotta keep an eye on your rudder. Got this little nut right here. It's pretty easy to make sure that nut's not walking out. It's a nylock nut. But still, if it wandered off, you'd be in a world of hurt. But you gotta get in here, make sure all this is solid, all the cables to the foot controls are solid. And I got a lot of shaft play here. I'm not sure. It's not gonna fall out. I don't know if it's, I don't really know if it's supposed to be. If it was that way when I bought it new, I don't know. Anyone else has a Windrider, tell me, do they have that much play? I don't really have a big problem with it. It doesn't bother me. When I use this hand, the hand steering, it just makes a little clunk as it takes up the play. But when you're on the foot steering, you don't even notice it. And a little extra play won't let it get bound up with a bunch of sand or something. So I don't really have an issue with it. I'm not sure if that's the way it was new. Anyone else, the Windrider 17? Let me know. Does your shaft wobble around? Does it have that much play in it? Now the cables to the rudder here, you want to keep them lubed up. And I generally use WD-40. I use the, give it a good shot. Pull the cable through. I'm getting everything oily here. Let it sit there, and it'll slowly work its way up in there. And I'll do the same thing from the back side. Now on the back side of the pedals, the foot pedals, you know, it's metal, the big old metal bracket there. I use the sail slide ease or whatever that comes with a boat for lubing up the track and the mast where you put the sail up, because it's dry and it won't catch up all the dirt and stuff. Like this is moist, but up inside the cable here, I like the water dispersing of it, and it seems to get up in there easier, and it makes everything flow nice in the steering. Because if you get slacking on oiling it up, it'll get stiff, and if you got on a long sail, it's tiring on your feet and your legs of having to push that extra thing. You wouldn't think it is, but it is. And that just keeps everything from wearing. And that's the big thing, is when something wears, bad stuff happens, like I talked about earlier. You end up getting hurt. So lube your cables. I'm gonna lube the other one. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get down into the last part here now. It's the trampolines. I'm running out of good sunlight here. The Houston sunset's coming early. But you gotta check the webbings. What I had happened to me coming back from the last sail, I know it's dark here, I'm trying to find it, there it is. Anyway, this whole strap right here completely ripped loose. And then ripped this part loose, letting this ring fall. And I went through. I went right to the water. And I was stepping onto that part of the, on there from the ama. And I was hanging on to the shroud. It's gonna be up over my head. This is the split. And when I fell, my hand came down, went across this guy, and it sliced my hand wide open. And then I dumped down into the flesh-eating bacteria, nasty E. coli water of the Texas Texas creek there that, you know, all the Texas little streams and rivers are getting pretty ugly these days. And it caused me all sorts of infection, problems. It was 9 stitches to close it up. It's been 3 weeks. I'm still having problems with it. So what I did is I took the trampoline into C&C Sails here in Houston. It's over on the northeastern side of Houston. All the other sail shops are down by League City, the southwestern far outside. They do all my sail work. I'm really happy with them. But this is actually where it broke. And they did a whole new, you see, they did whole solid system here. Sewn in solid, this thing's not going anywhere. And then they came through and put a couple of pieces in to strengthen it up and inspected the whole thing for me. So I kind of lost my, take me a little bit to lose my, or gain my trust in the trampoline system, because I still, everything I do hurts with this hand still, because it's still healing on the inside. But that's where I was going at. You gotta keep an eye on the stitching and such on your trampolines. See, I've hand ripped open. I couldn't get back on the boat. I couldn't get back on the dock. Once I did find a way to shore and crawl up on shore, I had to finish unloading, getting the boat stuff in the car because I had all my electronics and everything sitting out. And then I had to drive a half an hour to the nearest hospital where they sewed me up. It wasn't a fun day. And so that's where I can't stress enough on the trampolines. You know, and the day of that camping trip, the Cleveland Reef camping trip, I had this pop out, which I've had that happen before. These things will pop loose, and I ended up with my feet over there, my butt, my back here, my fat ass floating out over the water, and I managed to not get in the water. But so you got to keep track of this too, because you know, like I put the boat in for a week or 2 at a time, and these things can wiggle loose if you don't pay attention to them. In fact, I'm thinking about just putting I'd like to put just a regular cleat here. So when I give it the old figure 8 and tie it in, I know it's not going to wander off on me, because it's hard to tell if, you know, from here to there's not much difference, and it'll dump you in the water too. But that torn trampoline, that hurt me pretty bad. And so I can't stress enough to watch that. I don't know if it's something I could have seen in advance. I'm not sure, but I'll guarantee you that I'm going to be watching these corners all the time now. So it's this bracket right here. This is what slipped my hand open. So what I should have done long ago, I always did this on my big boat. I never did on this. I don't know why. But I got some boat tape. There's rescue tape here. You can get it off Amazon. Actually, I knew the guy that actually produced this and put it out to market. I worked his booth for him actually in the Toronto Boat Show years ago when I was doing the boat show circuit with Latitudes Attitudes magazine. And I helped him out when he'd go on breaks and stuff. I had to sell it. It's an impressive little product. But it'll wrap around there and just wrap good and tight. And then hopefully I won't have an issue with anything like that ever happening again. And it'll also, it wraps up all these little cotter pins, these little goofy cotter pins. You gotta watch it, they'll catch something and they'll try and pull out of there. So it'll wrap that up so you don't have a problem with those coming loose. And that is definitely always going to be on here from now on. There's not a whole lot of maintenance to these things other than that. You just gotta stay on it, keep things lubed up. You know, if you've something, you know, gotta watch all the little nuts and bolts, like anything mechanical. But overall, the Windrider is a pretty maintenance-free boat, especially myself stepping down from a 34-foot monohull, which was, you know, there was 13 winches on this thing, and there was always something crazy going on. But I like the simplicity of this thing. It's just a big piece of plastic and sails. And if you're in the Houston area, you need any work done, I highly recommend C&C Sails. In Hempstead, I believe it is. I'll put the link down below. But I had them put the 2 extra reef lines in my sail, and I'm happy with all their work. And because this corner right here, it is now the only corner I'm going to trust on this whole damn thing. But that's the basic maintenance on the Windrider 17. I hope you know, if you're thinking about getting one of these and you're wondering just, well, how much upkeep there is, not much. Just, you know, it's like, especially if you're in salt water, you got to watch the corrosion and stuff and keep ahead of that. And it's rocking. In freshwater, your sailing's like washing the boat. So that works. Big sail run this weekend. That's going to be a couple of good nights out camping. You'll be riding along. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Now hit that thumbs up. That helps out a lot. Okay, pay attention to that. If you got any questions, put the comment down there. I answer the comments. I read the comments. I answer all the comments. If you have any questions or things, and if you've got a Windrider, tell me how much play you have in your rudder post. It's not scaring me, but I'm curious just how much is normal. So until we get out on the water, I'll see you later, because I'm going to take you bastards sailing. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit the subscribe button. Let's go sailing.